Chair recognizes Representative Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I want to turn to the war in Sudan. This is, as you know, the world's largest displacement and humanitarian crisis. 500,000 people are facing famine. I saw firsthand the suffering when I visited Sudanese refugees in Chad. Earlier this year, and again yesterday, you reiterated that the Rapid Support Forces, a militia, is committing a genocide in Sudan. Is that correct?
We're very concerned about what both sides are doing, frankly, but the RSF in particular.
Correct.
The war in Sudan has become one of the most devastating humanitarian crises in the world, with millions displaced and 500,000 people facing the looming threat of famine. At the heart of this tragedy is the Rapid Support Forces, a militia group that has been accused of carrying out widespread atrocities amounting to genocide. These are not abstract claims. They are grounded in first-hand reports, international monitoring, and direct acknowledgement by U.S. officials. Villages have been burned, families torn apart, and refugees have fled in massive numbers, spilling across borders into neighboring countries like Chad. When lawmakers visited Sudanese refugees earlier this year, they saw the desperation in people's eyes, the hunger gnawing at children, and the endless grief of communities that have lost everything. This is not just another conflict, it is a deliberate campaign of ethnic cleansing and mass violence. What makes the situation even more alarming is the role of the United Arab Emirates in supporting the RSF. While the world condemns the brutality of the militia, the UAE has provided open support, bolstering the very forces accused of orchestrating genocide. This creates a disturbing contradiction in U.S. foreign policy. On one hand, American officials openly acknowledge that genocide is happening in Sudan and that the RSF is responsible. On the other hand, the U.S. continues to move forward with arms sales to the UAE, a government directly linked to backing this militia.
Correct. I agree with that. You also said as part of that, that all of our engagement with the UAE, we need to raise the fact that they are openly supporting an entity that is carrying out a genocide. And yet, President Trump continues to arm the UAE. In fact, he just blew through Ranking Member Meek's congressional hold on over $1 billion in arms sales, ignoring this committee's longstanding role as an independent check on major arms sales. And we can have a policy debate here about the merits of continuing to arm the UAE or not, despite this genocide. I had that same conversation with Secretary Blinken. But actually, I want to talk about the events that led up to that decision. So on April 30th, the Trump Organization, which Donald Trump still owns, unveiled plans to build an 80-story Trump Tower in Dubai. Then on May 1st, Trump's crypto company, World Liberty Financial, secured a $2 billion deal with an Emirati company with deep ties to the government. And only 11 days later, on May 12th, your department notified our committee that it would ignore Ranking Member Meek's holds on UAE arms sales. Secretary Rubio, we have a president who is personally profiting from a deal with a foreign government-backed company at the same time he is selling lethal weapons to that same government. Isn't that a clear conflict of interest?
I think no matter who was president, they would have to deal with the UAE. We have to. They're a member.
That's not my question. We can have a policy debate about how we should engage with the UAE.
You're making claims about corruption, and I'm answering that any president in the United States, I don't care who the president is, would have to deal with the UAE. They're a member of the Abraham Accords, number one. They've been incredibly cooperative on a bunch of other issues. We don't agree with them on 100%. We have concerns about some of the things they do, but this is called the balancing of foreign policy.
Secretary
It is in
Rubio,
our national interest to have
you.
a good relationship with the UAE, despite the fact that there are things we do we don't like.
Secretary Rubio,
The scale of these business ventures underscores the seriousness of the concern. An 80-story luxury tower in Dubai is more than just real estate. It is a symbol of prestige and a financial pipeline with potentially billions of dollars in profit. The crypto deal adds another dimension. World Liberty Financial, which Trump and his family own a 60% stake in, is not just another company operating in a crowded market. It is explicitly tied to Trump's name and brand, and the deal with the Emirati firm positioned it for massive growth and influence. These are not passive investments. They are active, high-profile business moves deeply connected to the UAE government, backed entities. When foreign policy decisions involving weapons sales to the same government followed almost immediately, the appearance of a conflict of interest became impossible to ignore. Representative Jacobs seized on this timeline during the hearing, emphasizing that while Sudanese civilians faced famine and genocide, Trump was entering into billion-dollar agreements with the very nation backing the forces responsible for these atrocities. The fact that these deals coincided with the administration's decision to override congressional holds on arms sales to the UAE only amplifies suspicions of corruption. If the president's private financial gain aligns so neatly with government policy shifts, how can the American people be confident that decisions are being made in the national interest rather than for personal enrichment? This is the heart of the accusation, that Trump blurred the line between public duty and private profit. The secretary's attempt to deflect by claiming that any president would have to work with the UAE missed the central issue. The problem is not whether the U.S. should engage with the UAE. The problem is that Trump personally benefited from deals with the UAE at the same time he was authorizing lethal weapons for them. Representative Jacobs even produced evidence from the company's own website showing Trump and his family's controlling stake in World Liberty Financial. The financial ties were undeniable.
Secretary Rubio, I don't disagree with you. I just visited the UAE a couple weeks ago and had these very same conversations there, but I don't think this is a complicated question. President Trump is personally profiting from a deal with a foreign government while selling weapons to that same government who is enabling a genocide. Policy aside, are you really saying you don't think this is a conflict of interest?
No, you're making claims. The president's family owns a business, and they can conduct business anywhere in the world they want. The president's never once raised business deals in UAE when talking about it. Any president would have to have a relationship with the UAE.
Secretary Rubio, that's just silly.
The previous administration had one too.
President Trump has retained his ownership of these companies, and I have an image right here from World Liberty Financial's website. So the idea that President Trump is not the face of the brand of this company on top from benefiting from them, and it literally says on the website that Mr. Trump and his family members own a 60% stake in this company, that's silly. So we can talk about the policy merits. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you believe it's a conflict of interest to have a president personally profiting from a deal with a foreign government while selling weapons to that same government who's enabling a genocide?
I don't accept the premise of your question. I think this has nothing to do with personally benefiting from anything. This has to do with the fact that in order to conduct foreign policy in the Middle East, you're going to have to deal with the UAE.
Mr. Secretary, this is a clear conflict of interest, and anyone with any common sense can see that. The president is personally benefiting from billions of dollars of deals, and he doesn't care at all about the people of Sudan who are experiencing famine and genocide. It's shocking to me that you can't admit that. It's clear that you seem more concerned about staying in Trump's good graces than sticking up for human rights and American values that you once were a champion for. With that, I'm going to yield the remainder of my time to Representative Olszewski.
Well, you make these claims about staying in good graces. You accuse people of being corrupt.
The third, and perhaps most striking fact, is the clear conflict of interest created when a sitting president personally profits from business deals with a foreign government while simultaneously approving arms sales to that same government. This is not a theoretical concern or a partisan accusation. It is a real and tangible overlap between personal wealth and public duty. When Trump retained ownership of his companies and openly pursued international projects, he positioned himself to benefit financially from foreign governments with which the United States must negotiate. The UAE deal highlights this danger perfectly. At the exact moment when his businesses were entering into multi-billion-dollar agreements with Emirati entities, his administration was also moving forward with arming the UAE, despite their support for militias accused of genocide in Sudan. This creates a direct ethical dilemma. Can a president who is financially dependent on foreign partners make unbiased decisions in the best interest of the American people? Representative Jacobs pressed this point relentlessly during the hearing. She reminded the secretary that this issue was not about balancing foreign policy or maintaining diplomatic ties. It was about corruption in plain sight. A president personally enriching himself through deals with a government that is simultaneously purchasing American weapons is a textbook conflict of interest. If such behavior were happening in another country, the United States would likely condemn it as corruption undermining democratic values.
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I appreciate a softball for you, yes or no, since I don't have a lot of time, and I appreciate it. The chairman gives me a few seconds back. Softball for you. Would you, yes or no, as Secretary, find it outrageous for you to solicit or accept a $200,000 Rolls Royce from a foreign government for personal or State Department use?
That offer's never been made to me.
Yes, so you would reject that offer?
The offer of a Rolls Royce?
Yes.
I don't understand the purpose of that
You
question.
would.
That's a silly question.
The fact that you can't answer the question,
I
Mr.
just answered it. I
Secretary,
said it's silly.
silly because you would accept it or not?
Of course not. Who would accept it? But no
Well,
one's
then
giving.
I think you should
what are
maybe
you
perhaps,
equating that to?
Mr. Secretary, reclaim my time. I think you are an honorable man by most accounts, but the man that you work for doesn't. And the fact that he is soliciting and accepting a $400 million plane is problematic. And you should know about it. It came up in a Senate hearing. You should read about it, add it to your reading, because it is problematic for foreign policy. It adds to the corruption that my colleague just said. And I hope you speak out against it. Thank you.